When I work with appraisers who are working as expert witnesses or are going up before state appraisal boards, most of the questions start out with, from the data in your work file, please show us. If you can't show it, then you've got to say, well, it's not in my work file. The theory being,
Mm.
if it's not in your work file, you cannot prove you did or did not do it.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
All right, my good friends, welcome back to the Appraiser Coach Podcast with my good friend, Mr. Tim Andersen, the Appraiser's Advocate. Welcome back, Tim. How are you?
Dustin, great. How are you? And let me again compliment you on your jacket.
Thank you. Thank you. I got the Queen shirt, rocking the Queen shirt today, and you are rocking the Sarah's Kitchen hat. Good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're doing great. For the audience, especially those who might be new here on an occasion, I like to have Mr. Tim Andersen on to discuss USPAP. It's something that, runs our lives as appraisers, right? There's lots of things about USPAP that we need to be paying attention to on a regular basis. I am not a USPAP expert. I am a podcaster. I'm a clown with a microphone. And yet I get asked questions all of the time as if I am some kind of expert. I am not. The only thing I'm smart about, Tim, is to have smart people on to answer these great questions. And we've got a couple of questions today. If you don't mind, I'd like to dive right in. How's that sound?
Let us dive away, sir.
All right, let's start with the easy one, which may be the more important one, but it's the easy one, I think. And this comes from Anonymous, but one of our listeners to the program wrote in and said that he has a question for Tim next time Tim is on the program. And the question is this, Tim. As we get closer to UAD 3.6 and the transition there, I'm wondering if there's anything different with 3.6 and USPAP. He goes on to say, I know they're not related directly, but indirectly, what we do as far as our appraising process is changing pretty dramatically with 3.6. And I want to make sure that I remain compliant. What are your thoughts, Tim?
Okay, Dustin, what we have to remember is every appraisal report goes to a GSE. And 3.6 is going to go solely, exclusively, and only to the GSEs. USPAP has never paid any attention whatsoever to the reporting form the appraiser chooses to use. You can write an appraisal on the back of an envelope if you can write small enough.
Sure.
So the reporting format's got nothing to do with USPAP. That's a GSE requirement. If you're doing appraisals not for GSEs, then 3.6 will be essentially irrelevant. So you're going to have to understand not only how to do 3.6, but how to stay current on the 1004 form or the GPAR form or a restricted reporting format. So is UAD changing USPAP? Is USPAP changing UAD? No, not even close. You still have to develop the appraisal, which is standard 1, and you still have to report the appraisal, which is standard 2. And 3.6 is just another way to report the appraisal.
Okay, so let me try to get in the head of Mr. Anonymous here. I think it's a Mr., maybe it's a Mrs. And again, I don't know who this individual is, but I do know that from an appraising standpoint, and some of the things that we've talked about in my mastermind and in the All-Star team, is the fact that some people are claiming that appraising for the GSEs, being specific here, is getting quote unquote easier. It's been compared to the TurboTax process, right? You can sit down with your 1040 and do your taxes, or you can go through a step-by-step question answer type thing and then do your taxes, the 1040 that way. And I know it may not be a great analogy, but it's been used over and over again that the 3.6 is more of a TurboTax approach, where before you would go to your form and fill out your form. Now you're walking through a step-by-step process. A question might be, does it have a basement? Yes or no. You click yes, and all of a sudden, all of the basement stuff opens up, where if you click no, it would just kind of skip over that and go to the next process. One of the concerns, Tim, and I think this is really maybe where the anonymous question comes from, is that as we get into 3.6, that we might be so into the trees, if you will, so into the forest that we forget to zoom back out and realize that we're doing an appraisal process, not filling out a form, right? We get so into the question 1, question 2, question 3, the TurboTax process, that we forget overall, that there's a bigger process in place here. The appraisal. Let me put it this way, Tim, because you brought up standard 1, standard 2. We're so into the standard 2 with 3.6 that we forget that there's a standard 1, if that makes sense. Do you see that being a concern?
Okay, let's back up a little bit. The definition of an appraisal in USPAP, or one of the two definitions, is the process you go through to come up with your value opinion. All right, that's got nothing to do with writing the report.
Sure.
So the writing the report is not part of the process of coming up with a value opinion. You've already come up with a value opinion. Now you're writing the report.
Right.
So if standard 2 begins to take, if when you wake up in the morning, you say, oh, okay, now I got to fill out this form, then bless your heart, you're doing it wrong. The issue is the appraisal, not the reporting format. And if the appraiser can't pull back and look at the forest as opposed to being merely lost in the trees, then the appraiser has pretty much given up appraising and has become a bookkeeper. And that's not what we do. We appraise. That it's the critical thinking, it's the interpretation, it's the analyses we go through to come up with a credible value opinion, not the way we report it. Now, obviously, we've got to report it truthfully, honestly, candidly, objectively. If there's a if there's a hole in the basement floor that's letting in water all the time, we can't ignore that. Okay, but we have to take care. We have to take care of whatever effect the hole in the basement floor has in the appraisal, and then merely report it when we write the appraisal report. So, is it easy to get lost in the trees? Yeah, it's real easy to get lost in the trees. But that's why we have to understand that every so often you got to go up to 25,000 feet and make sure you're within the forest. Otherwise, you are going to get lost in the trees and you're going to worry about reporting as opposed to worry about appraising.
Okay, so and I don't want to belabor the process here, and certainly don't want to beat a dead horse. But the question I'm getting at, Tim, is I'm going to ask for some advice from somebody like you who has seen appraisers get into trouble when it comes to the processes that they go through, and sometimes forget their bigger responsibility here. Because what I want to back up on is, the honest truth is most appraisers, in fact, hardly any appraisers that are doing work for the GSEs, are going through a process of, okay, I'm doing the appraisal, I'm doing standard 1, I get everything put together, boom, 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 and now I come over here and fill out the report. Everybody that I know of, myself included, we do that process as we report. We go through the process of standard 1 as we're filling out the report, which is standard 2. Do you fear that the 3.6 makes that problem even more compounded? And if so, what advice would you give to appraisers so that we keep ourselves out of hot water?
Well, standard 1 has the number 1 because it comes first. And standard 2, the reporting standard, has the number 2 because it comes second. So we come up with the number first. Now, maybe we come up with a number on a quick and dirty basis, but we come up with a number first, and then we write it. And in the writing of it, we may change our minds. That's perfectly fine. That's what we're supposed to do if we come across new evidence, or we reinterpret, or we reanalyze the evidence that we had before. So there's nothing wrong with saying, yeah, it's $400,000. And then as you get into it, say, no, it's probably 365. That's what we're supposed to do. So, but to try to do them simultaneously, it helps you get lost in the trees. You got to know
Right.
where the forest is first, and then you can walk into the forest and start looking at the trees.
Mm.
So, to answer the question, is UAD going to facilitate? And I hope that's the right word. Is 3.6 going to facilitate getting lost in the trees? It could, certainly could. Just like
Mm.
1004 can facilitate getting lost in the trees. So the appraiser has to be aware of the forest as well as the individual trees, as well as the individual tree the appraiser is appraising.
Mm. Very good. Tim, when we get back, a related question concerning work files, and then also want to have everybody stay tuned because I'm going to have Tim share his information at the end of the podcast here. This is a man who has seen it all when it comes to appraising, when it comes to state boards, when it comes to getting prepared for the potential that you might be before a state board, and he's somebody that you want in your back pocket. Speaking of people in your back pocket, you're going to want Working RE in your back pocket because they are on top of what's going on in the appraisal world. We've all chosen this as our career, folks. We might as well stay informed and educated about what's going on day to day. And it makes it very, very easy when you can rely on a place like Working RE. And folks, never has it been easier than to just log into their website and sign up for their email. It is free. They will send you out information on a weekly basis as to what's going on, and you don't have to pay attention to everything out there because they will do it for you and synthesize it in a very easy to read manner. Mr. Isaac Peck and others over at Working RE do the hard work so that you can have the information at your fingertips. Again, it's workingre.com, workingre.com. Speaking of doing the hard work so that you can have information at your fingertips, what about the ability to be able to work through the standard one, as we've been talking about, with a tool like TrueTracks? TrueTracks will help you, not do it for you, but help you to analyze the market, help you to see the differences in neighborhood boundaries, help you to see the differences in comparables and adjustments, and help support those adjustments so that you can remain on top as far as being able to support your appraisal process and thus your appraisal report. You can learn more by going to truefootage.tech/tools. Again, it's truefootage.tech/tools. And by the way, if you use the coupon code Appraiser Coach, it's capital A, capital C, no space, Appraiser Coach, you will get 6 weeks free of TrueTracks. Check them out right now at truefootage.tech/tools. Welcome back. We're talking with my good friend, Mr. Tim Andersen, the appraiser's advocate. Welcome back, my friend. Thank you for being on.
Dustin, thank you. It's an honor.
Well, we love to do these Dear USPAP Instructor episodes because it allows appraisers to ask questions and get answers from an expert like yourself. This next question has to do with work files. It's from Deanne S. Deanne writes in, how much is too much work file? Now, I'm not going to pause there, Tim, though we could just stop there and hear your, I'm sure, sarcastic answer. But let's move forward and say, how little is too little work file, she says. And then she says, I was at a conference recently where someone said, if you see it, put it in your work file. She says, I mean, that's cute. It's a cute phrase, but that can get out of hand really fast. Let me set this up before I have you answer, Tim. I kind of feel the same way that Deanne does, in the sense that I get what this individual, this instructor, was trying to teach. That, if it's part of the process, you should capture it, right? But I agree with Deanne in the sense that this can get out of, if you see it, capture it. I mean, this could be an 8,000 page work file if you capture every single thing that you see. Where's the line, Tim?
Okay. Um, okay. My friend and your friend Josh Wallet said that. We're not throwing him under
Okay.
the bus. Give him a little free plug
I
here.
respect Josh. Right.
You're welcome, Josh. Okay. If you see it, save it. Now, obviously, he's not talking about you're going through National Geographic for something to do, and you see a nice picture and you put it in your work file. That's not what he's talking about.
Sure.
He's talking
Sure.
about something that has to be relevant to the assignment. Now, um, Deanna asked two excellent questions. What's too little and what's too much, and I will give Deanna. I will give you the definitive answer. I don't have a clue. All I
Mm,
know is when I work with appraisers who are working as expert witnesses, meaning they're going to be cross-examined, or are going up before state appraisal boards, which means their very existence is going to be questioned.
sure.
Most of the questions start out with, from the data in your work file, please show us, and then whatever it is the authority wants you to show. If you can't show it, if you can't show it, then you've got to say, well, it's not in my work file. Now,
Mm,
the question is phrased that way for a purpose. And the purpose of phrasing the question that way is to make you look dumb if it's not in your work file. The theory being,
mm,
if it's not in your work file, you cannot prove you did or did not do it. For example, everybody makes adjustments. Well, okay, but that's wrong. The reason is that's the second question. The first question is the market demanding an adjustment? Okay, pool
mm,
versus no pool. Okay, it's the only pool in the neighborhood. All right, well, are you going to adjust the comparables upward because they don't have a pool and your subject does? Well, that assumes a pool adds value. But if there's
mm,
only one in the neighborhood, how much value can it possibly add? So if you have in your work file your analyses that show, hey, this is the only one in the neighborhood, and obviously the market is not demanding swimming pools. If there's no demand for something, by theory and practice, it has no contributory value. Okay. Now, you're sitting there wearing that very nice jacket, and I'm sitting here in Florida. Now, maybe where you are, it's cold. Where I am, it ain't. Okay. It's about 92 degrees outside right now with about 85% humidity. All right.
mm,
While I like the jacket, I wouldn't buy it because there's no demand. There's no reason. It ain't cold outside, and it
okay.
never gets cold here. It gets cooler, but it never gets cold. Now, I'd buy the jacket because I like it, but do I need it? Absolutely not. So we ask the wrong questions. Therefore, the question is phrased: please show us out of your work file that, or how you concluded that, or what the market evidence is for X, whatever variable it is we're looking for. And if the appraiser can't answer that question, then the appraiser has not gone through the process. In other words, the appraiser is just assuming the pool added value. And then by saying, well, yeah, I made a $20,000 adjustment for the pool, then not only is the appraiser assuming the market would assign a value to it, the appraiser is also merely assuming 20,000 bucks. Well,
Mm,
if you're going to start making assumptions like that, those are extraordinary assumptions, and you have to disclose them, and you have to declare that had you not used it, it might have affected it might have affected your appraisal. So when you can say, "Oh yeah, I didn't find any comparable sales with pools, but I spoke to the brokers, some of the brokers in the area, and they indicated that people were putting them in." Okay, now you've got market evidence. The market wants a pool. Whereas the broker
Yeah.
says, "Oh, in that neighborhood, are you kidding? No, nobody puts in a pool." Then there's no particular demand for it. Now, you have about a 1-year-old grandson,
Yep.
and if you had a pool, you would spend most of your time when he was over there staring at him so he couldn't get
Hmm.
anywhere in the pool.
Right.
Okay. Now, is that stress on you and your wife and your marriage worth it? Now, when he's 6 years old, he'd probably love it, but not right now. So
Hmm.
we can't look solely at a tree to use your metaphor. We have to look at the forest. Okay. And if the forest doesn't have swimming pools, then the fact that one tree does means that one tree does. It doesn't mean that that pool contributes to the market. So her question is, what do I have to have in my work file? You have to have in your work file to prove every statement of fact that you make in an appraisal. Uh, uh, uh,
Right.
when you make an adjustment, that's a statement of fact. When you
Yep.
include a comparable sale, excuse me, when you include a sale as a comparable, that is a statement of fact. And you've got to have the stuff in the work file, the analytics or the poll or some study from the local university or whatever, saying that, yes, this does affect value and I adjusted for it, or it doesn't affect value, therefore I didn't adjust for it. Just because there's a difference doesn't mean that difference merits an adjustment. The market must demand that we make the adjustment. Therefore, we have to understand the market. And typically, pulling something out of MLS and throwing it in the file does not answer the question because most of that stuff isn't in MLS anyway.
Yeah. Well said, and with respect to my to both of our good friend, Mr. Josh Wallet, I think Josh and yourself deal with way too much of the second part of this question because she asked how much is too much work file, how little is too little work file, and as you pointed out, Tim, and I'm sure Josh would agree, you deal with a lot of appraisers that have too little work file, right? And I think what Josh is trying to do with if you see it, save it, it's a great phrase to remember because we need as an entire group profession as a whole to swing that pendulum to the other side, right? How much is too much work file? Do we need to take a screenshot of every single thing that we? I mean, I guess you could say there's too much, right, on some level to be economical about it. But in the end, if the problem lies anywhere, Tim, would you agree? Most appraisers are on the too little side.
On the too little side, yes. And
Yeah,
besides, okay, once you digitize it, you put it in your computer, it doesn't take up any space. So,
that's
to
true.
say,
Memory's
well,
cheap, right?
yeah, and memory's cheap. That's right. So to say, well, the files that take up too much space, yeah, for a little while they would, but you're going to digitize them, and no, now they
Right.
don't take up any space at all.
There you go. Mr. Tim Andersen, the appraiser's advocate, we could all use a little wisdom in both preparing for potential problems with the state, or once that letter comes, relying on somebody like yourself with some wisdom that has gone through that process with multiple appraisers before. How do people get a hold of you and tell us just a little bit about some of the services that you provide?
Dustin, my email address is tim@theappraisersadvocate.com. And much like the doctor, I would rather work with you before you get sick. I would much rather work with you before you're under the deadline to go to court or before you're under the deadline to submit something to the state. and I'd be happy to review. I will review one report. I'll review a bunch of reports. We can do tutoring. We can do mentoring. I don't do supervising, but we can do mentoring. We can do all sorts of things. And because I don't appraise anymore, I just consult. Then we're not competing with each other. I'm not going to use any of your data because that's not the work I do. And is what you send to me confidential? Yes, it is. And because it's confidential, nobody's going to find out about it. Nobody's going to hear from me that you're in trouble with the state. And in fact, we might even be able to make it so that the state never tells anybody you're in trouble with them. Maybe. So maybe if there's no formal charge filed, it remains confidential. But that's what I do, and I work with appraisers who have been in the business a short time, who've been in the business a long time, simply because you know as well as I do that after a while you do something because that's just the way you do it. That doesn't mean it's right. It just means that's the way you do it. And sometimes you've got to have somebody who can go to 30,000 feet and say, okay, this is fine, this works, and you need to address this.
Tim, thank you. Thank you for being on. Thank you for your wisdom, for your advice, and let's do it again very soon.
I look forward to it, Dustin, and it is an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.